Hello, you. I'm Daniel. This is Chris, and you're watching the Superhero Show because you have impeccable taste. Now, this week we're going to find out what RoboCop's favourite superhero movie is. We talk about it being Eisenberg, not Heisenberg. But in the time-honoured tradition of 2 weeks, you have the first story.
I do. And as if the Avengers Age of Ultron didn't have enough characters, Joss Whedon has gone and added another and the news came out overnight, so this is hot off the press. Paul Bettany has been cast as the Vision in Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, you're a bit of a Vision fan, aren't you, Dan?
I used to have some Vision action figures as a kid, as you do. Having a really non-massive character as your favourite character. No, I just really like the Vision as a character, but I think this is interesting because Paul Bettany already has a role within the Marvel Universe, doesn't he?
He does. He's Jarvis.
He's Jarvis.
He's the voice of Jarvis.
So before people
movies.
think they're doubling up, like they're getting like Chris Evans to do Human Torch and then he transferred across to become Captain America, this is kind of reveals a plot point. We already know that Tony Stark creates Ultron, who is the antagonist of the new movie. In the comics, Ultron creates the Vision, another kind of synthetic, to trap the Avengers. So I imagine this just kind of draws across Jarvis as a kind of operating system or as an intelligence that's loaded up into him.
Do you think? Because that's nothing we've heard yet. Do you think that's what's...
Well, we've heard that Tony Stark is the creator of Ultron, so obviously his technology is involved. So I don't think it's a great leap to pull him across. And if Jarvis isn't a plot point, it's kind of confusing to have two Paul Bettany voices in there.
Agree.
So,
and he's a bloody good actor as well.
Yeah.
He's done villains before. He's done heroes before. We've not seen him on screen in a Marvel movie, so...
Yeah.
Could be interesting. Equally, the Vision in the comics has a relationship with Scarlet Witch and even marries her. So I wonder if that's something they'll pull through to the movies, and could we see some kind of female-on-robot romance?
Which is always what you look for in a summer blockbuster.
Yeah, hot stuff. I don't know, but that's a potential. Maybe not in this movie, but
yeah. Well, it seems
forward.
like a theme that's going to be going through this movie is that kind of Frankenstein thing of, you know, overreaching intellects creating beings that then turn on them. Tony Stark creates Ultron, Ultron creates the Vision, then it turns on him. So I think there's something in there. But I think Vision then becomes a part of the Avengers later on in the comics, and I'm wondering if that's what they're trying to get to, a place where some of the main Avengers, they're all back there, but one of them can drop out, and then spaces open up on the team, and you could insert a kind of lesser-known character like the Vision, and, you know, next film down the line, you know, if Robert Downey Jr. doesn't want to do any more movies, you can kind of retire him, but you can plug in two lesser-known heroes.
But are we reading too much into this? Will they not necessarily go the route that the comics have gone with this character? Because that plot's out there, people know it. Might they, you know, take a different approach? Yeah,
I think adding the Tony Stark stuff obviously plays on the fact that he is so popular amongst people. To put him front and centre of the Avengers works. He's the most charismatic of all those characters, the most relatable, the most human, really. So I think there'll be a spin, but I think they will kind of channel some of the original stuff in there.
Cool, well, it's exciting. Good for Paul Bettany.
Yeah, so more Marvel stuff, thinking of the future of the Marvel Universe. Now, we hear about Phase 3 all the time. Now, we know the first film in Phase 3 is going to be Edgar Wright's kind of comedic heist movie take on Ant-Man. That's coming out in 2015, I believe.
And they've announced this week that Evangeline Lilly might be the female lead in that.
Yeah, so she's rumoured. And there's two more films, unannounced films, coming out as part of Phase 3. That's 2016 and 2017. We don't know what they are so far. Now, there's loads of rumours always flying around that it's going to be Doctor Strange, Black Panther is kind of mooted. But this week, an insider came out and said, hey, this could be somebody just lying, but they think it might be Guardians of the Galaxy 2 already. That has a good chance of having a sequel as one of these kind of 2016, 2017 movies.
Yeah.
Which kind of, take it with a grain of salt, obviously, because there's no way that sequel's getting greenlit until the first one comes out. But I think they're banking on it maybe being a bit of a success, like they are with Captain America Winter Soldier. Maybe they're quite confident with what they're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's a very different prospect to the superhero movies that they've been releasing because there's much more science fiction to this one. But equally, there's going to be lots of cute characters in it. There's going to be aliens in it that they can sell as toys. There's going to be a big marketing machine behind this one. So,
as there is all the movies, but there seems like almost the Guardians that almost can appeal to a slightly wider audience, even though kids lap up like the Marvel films. And there's that kind of dovetails with another bit of news that there's probably going to be an animated series based on the Guardians of the Galaxy it does seem like Saturday morning kind of stuff we're growing
Yeah,
up.
really aiming this one at families.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. But we've not talked about the biggest piece of news from the last week, which unfortunately broke just after we'd finished the show last week. And it was a bit late for us to drop in. But Lex Luthor has been cast, and it was someone none of us were expecting. But you'll know it by now. It's Jesse Eisenberg. The studio released a statement with the announcement saying, Lex Luthor is often considered the most notorious of Superman's rivals, his unsavoury reputation preceding him since 1940. What's great about Lex is that he exists beyond the confines of the stereotypical nefarious villain. He's a complicated and sophisticated character whose intellect, wealth and prominence position him as one of the few mortals able to challenge the incredible might of Superman. Having Jesse in the role allows us to explore that interesting dynamic and also take the character some new and unexpected directions. Which is, I think, what we thought. I think everyone's initial reaction was, oh, dear God. But then the more you thought about it, you thought, actually, this is quite smart. This is interesting. This is different.
When I was teeing up the show just then, I said it's Eisenberg, not Heisenberg. And for so long, people have been going on about Bryan Cranston playing Lex Luthor. One, because there are elements of the Breaking Bad character that, you can make a fan trailer from Breaking Bad that you could, pose as a kind of a Lex Luthor show reel. And obviously the bullhead, it just kind of works. And I'm sure he would have been great in a certain way. And it's much more kind of a palatable jump for people to make Bryan Cranston in that role. But the more you think about Eisenberg, and he might not be brilliant, he might not be great, the film might not be great, but the more you think about Eisenberg and look at his track record and the films and the roles that he's selected for, there are threads there are elements to his ability as an actor that kind of, I don't know, we find him more credible than we did initially.
Yeah. It's that intellectual superiority that Lex Luthor needs to have, and Eisenberg has shown time and time again on screen.
Yeah, because once it was announced, initially I think I was like everyone, it's like, what? And then I went back and I looked at clips of The Social Network on YouTube, and there's one in particular that we're just going to play for you in a minute, and I think it kind of brings together a certain type of arrogance, intellect, like superciliousness, and kind of the way he looks down and demolishes people with his intellect, not with his physicality. So, Rich, can we play that video now?
Mr. Zuckerberg, do I have your full attention?
No.
Do you think I deserve it?
What?
Do you think I deserve your full attention?
I had to swear an oath before we began this deposition, and I don't want to perjure myself, so I have a legal obligation to say no.
Okay, no. You don't think I deserve your attention?
I think if your clients want to sit on my shoulders and call themselves tall, they have a right to give it a try, but there's no requirement that I enjoy sitting here listening to people lie. You have part of my attention. You have the minimum amount. The rest of my attention is back at the offices of Facebook, where my colleagues and I are doing things that no one in this room, including and especially your clients, are intellectually or creatively capable of doing. Did I adequately answer your condescending question?
I have 12:45. Why don't we say that's lunch?
Back at 2:30.
There you go. He's absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to probably convince anyone who's dead against it, but I think that shows something that's there in that character. And you were saying all these other actors that had auditioned, but like allegedly kind of been considered for the role.
Yeah, well, that's got me slightly bothered in that apparently Joaquin Phoenix auditioned for it, Bryan Cranston. They're even talking about Tom Hanks. And if they were going to go for an older, more mature Lex Luthor, like we've seen in the past, was that what the script initially said? Is this the script they're working for? Are they rewriting it now because of someone else? Like, I'm slightly worried that the actors are coming before the script is in the story.
So I completely understand your kind of reservations, but I think there's another way of looking at that dilemma from a slightly different angle, from a more positive one. Like, originally the treatment might have been a more kind of traditional Lex Luthor, middle-aged man in his 50s, late 40s. And then Eisenberg, they just maybe took a punt on him coming in, like, he wants to read for it, let's get him in. They saw him, he did submit in the audition, and they just thought, well, bloody hell, we're gonna have to rewrite the treatment because he's done something really special here, and it gives the movie something very different, I think that's maybe the positive way to look at it. I might be wrong, but
Quite excitingly, we've had our first piece of feedback.
Somebody watched
and decided to write in, and it was about Lex Luthor. Will Cooper, thank you for your email. He says, "Hi guys, just wanted to share my thoughts on the recent casting of Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor in the upcoming Superman vs. Batman film. Personally, I'm all for the idea. Eisenberg and Cavill are the same age, which mirrors Lex and Cal since they're supposed to be around the same age. It also shows different ideas of what is a powerful person, Superman being physically and emotionally grand, while Luthor being intelligent and more like Moriarty in his persona. Eisenberg has already proved he's a notable actor that can pull off a brutal and fierce businessman in The Social Network, and with the dry delivery of humour Eisenberg is known for, will make Lex an interesting opponent for Kal-El."
I know, wear a hoodie. It'd be interesting if so. Maybe this flies in the face of what a lot we were saying. I think you and I are trying to find the best in Eisenberg. Now, another bit of rumour came out this week from the Mill that kind of casts another kind of light on the whole Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor thing.
And nearly melted our website with all the comments.
Yeah, so there's this treatment that apparently somebody's got their hands on and had a look at it. And Jesse Eisenberg's... The kind of Luthor they're going to get him to play is kind of a street punk, and he's like risen up from the streets from the age of 14. He's led a gang, and this is the bit that I think everyone's like, what's that about? He's going to be heavily tattooed, and he's going to be a bit kind of punky.
Is he going to have a tattoo of Metropolis down his arm? That's the word.
Wow. So initially I thought they might have recast him as kind of .com cool billionaire.
Yeah.
You know, more kind of Zuckerberg. But this sounds a bit kind of hard.
Yeah, the word is he's kind of worked his way up, and then he's got a resentment for Bruce Wayne because he's had everything given to him.
Entitlement.
Yeah, and so that's what kind of triggers a bit
and
of...
it sounds like from that treatment there's a lot of interplay between him and Wayne. So even though this is, you know, pitched originally as Man of Steel 2, it does seem like Superman's maybe being pushed into the background.
But we've got to take this with a pinch of salt.
Pinch of salt.
We have had some comments, though, underneath the article, which I thought I'd print out again because some of them make me laugh. In my opinion, he's just too young looking compared to how old the actor who plays Superman is. Just doesn't mesh well for me. Well, they're kind of the same age, so I'm not sure what you're talking about.
He's quite baby-faced.
I guess so. Personally, I think Jesse is too soft to pull off a worthy Lex. That's actually really interesting. His character in The Social Network was pretty good, and with a bit of tweaking and some added muscle, I can see him pulling it off. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Next thing you know, Michael Cera will be the Joker and Jonah Hill the Penguin.
There's been some Photoshop that's going everywhere.
I like this one. People complain about the choice of Eisenberg as Luthor, and I will wait to see how he does because there have been surprises in the past. However, who doesn't want to see Eisenberg beaten up by Batman and Superman?
Yeah. And, you know, there are these instances of casting against type, and it all working out miraculously. Obviously, there's loads of cases where it doesn't work out. But remember the kind of outrage when Heath Ledger was announced as the Joker?
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is the same situation, and it's gonna happen again. It's going to be an amazing performance. But sometimes you don't know. No. And the casting director, you know, they've seen a screen test. They've seen him do it on camera, reading from the script. There's something there.
The thing is, I trust in Nolan. Do I trust in Snyder in the same way? I think that remains to be seen.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good point. Well made.
And BK Dragon says, this is my favourite.
BK Dragon.
I'm so done with this movie. This movie? Still going to see it, though.
Well, always the way.
I think that's a lot of people are feeling that way.
Yeah, so another little kind of tidbit regarding villains. Mark Webb revealed what BJ Novak's role in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is going to be over Twitter this week. He put it in parentheses, he said, A. Smythe. Now, Alistair Smythe, I didn't really recognise the name immediately, but then I Google image searched and I was like, oh, it's obvious, because I remember him from the 90s Spider-Man cartoon I used to watch all the time. And he is someone who he's basically another villain, because that's what that movie needs. It needs another villain. And he creates the Spider Slayers eventually. But people who of my generation will remember him having an incredible 90s mullet, right up there with Captain America and Pat Sharp, and these horns on his back that he could fire lasers out of. I don't think they're going to go with that treatment for this movie.
Not in this movie, but who knows? Are they seeding stuff for future movies here?
Possibly. I think, look at this, not like, oh my God, there's going to be another villain in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, because that film does not need it. I think it's more like Kurt Connors in the original Raimi trilogy. Mm-hmm. So there's another character that it kind of flashes out the Spider-Man world a little bit, and then he's in your back pocket, say, three films down the line, you can turn him into a villain, and it looks like you've done all this wonderful character stuff early on.
And BJ Novak makes a very likeable villain in The Office when he turned dark.
He does.
Yeah.
I hope he goes for that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what Sony are doing with all the Spider-Man villains, because they've announced they're going to do Sinister Six movie, Venom movie, and I think it's because those are the only rights that Sony have. I think Sony look toward Marvel and obviously the incredible success they've done with all the characters and tying the films together, looking over what Fox are now trying to do with bringing the 2 X-Men cast together. Sony only have Spider-Man. So when they look beyond that hero, where do you go? You go into his, like, Spider-Man's got pretty good villains. But it's interesting whether people will find that as appealing, whether you need more heroes in there. I think you probably do.
I like a villain better than a hero, though. I'm really interested to see if they can make...
Villains are often more interesting, but you...
But no one's done it. No one's done a proper... You know, you get horror films, but no one's done a proper superhero villain movie. Yeah. I'm intrigued to see if they can make it work. It'd be interesting
if they made that Sinister Six movie. I mean, it's slightly like a dark comedy. Like they're always having a terrible time trying to foil Spider-Man. I think that's the way they should go.
Screwball.
Yeah.
Also this week, the Super Bowl happened, which we didn't watch because we're English and we have no interest.
Yeah. World champions, no one else can enter. I just got to put that out there.
But we tune in because we want to see the trailers that are released at the same time. And out of all the trailers that were released that day, I think the one we were most excited about was Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I think it looked pretty good. The Spider-Man one was a bit too long.
It was too long.
It felt like preview footage.
Well, it felt like I didn't need to see the film, having seen that trailer. But yeah, Captain America, Winter Soldier, I'm not the hugest Captain America fan. I didn't love the first movie. But finally, I'm absolutely jazzed for this film, having seen this trailer. Mainly because the Winter Soldier looks like a complete and utter badass.
Yeah. Well, we've just both recently watched RoboCop, and there's something going on there with like the metal arm. I quite like the line in the trailer that goes, "Yeah, and he had a metal arm." It does look what we were talking about last week about them trying to up Captain America's abilities and make him more of a superhero rather than like an elite athlete. And it looks like the Winter Soldier in this film is going to be that impetus for him, like raising his game, doing more kind of super heroic actions.
Yeah, I mean they've got that scene in the trailer where the Winter Soldier just catches his shield and then throws it back at him,
and knocks him out.
And it's like, wow, this is a proper foe.
What did you think of the Falcon though?
That's a flying bird.
Because there seems the overall treatment of the movie, even though, you know, it's still fancy, isn't it? It's ultimately a superhero film. They're going with a more kind of military edge, you know, talking about invasion of privacy, picking up on the Patriot Act, all this really serious stuff, yeah. And then it's got big metal wings.
It was a bit Robin-like. He was a bit of, poor man's sidekick. I don't know. We'll have to see how Anthony Mackie kind of plays the role and if he gets much screen time.
Sidekicks are difficult to pull off. I thought Iron Man 3 did a great job with War Machine, what they did with Don Cheadle's role. I thought there was a really good balance there. He didn't feel like just a supporting character. In the end, he really had, like, a meaningful part to play in the finale.
Yeah.
But there was something else in the trailer that we've been picking up.
Yeah, about the 2-minute mark, something pops up, and spoiler alert, we're going to speculate a little bit now, but it's in the trailer, it's out there. There is a moment when Captain America and Black Widow are standing over a slab in a morgue with a sheet over it, and it's a body, and we can't see who's under the body. And so we've been trying to figure out who the hell it might be. We've done a video already on the site speculating about it out of our LA office, but...
Well, I think there's one dominant theory. It might be Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson's character.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson. Is it the end?
Because his deal's up.
Is his deal up with this film? I thought he had one more after this one.
It's getting close.
But yeah, might they be killing off Nick Fury? I mean, Samuel L. Jackson's not getting any younger.
I think if he got rid of Nick Fury, it kind of goes back to what we were saying about one of the main Avengers dropping out. It's like, these films make a lot of money. They're going to have to sustain the universe for many more years to come, it seems, at the moment. The bubble is definitely not bursting right now. And I think it's a good way to keep, free up spaces. You can't just keep adding more characters.
Yeah.
You need to, lose some characters. And I think if he steps down, somebody else can move into that kind of overseer role. You know, even Downey Jr. maybe one day.
Equally, this is something we're totally making up at the moment, so it could very well not be. I mean, could it be Falcon under there?
He didn't last long.
Is his time in the Marvel Universe brief?
Just when he's flying, he gets sucked into the helicarrier.
Poor old Anthony Mackie's like, yeah, I've got a Marvel movie, and he gets the script.
Do press. So what about the Falcon spin-off movie? Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
But yeah, that trailer has me properly jazzed for that one now. So, and I've not got long to wait. It's out in April in the UK. So we also have a second piece of feedback.
I can't believe it.
I know, there's 2 people watching. This comes from E.K. Haruna, and it's a bit of casting suggestion for Black Panther, Nonso Anozie, who is a British actor who I'm a big fan of, actually. I'm all for this. To play Black Panther.
He'll be happy to know that.
The reasons given are that Nonzo's a theatre-trained actor who's experienced in TV and Hollywood movies, which is true. You might recognise him from Ender's Game. He's in Conan. He's in The Golden Compass, and he's also in Game of Thrones.
He's in Game of Thrones, yeah. He plays a character called Daxos, and... Well, actually, you go on to some of the qualities he lists.
Yeah.
I think that ties in.
He's a big guy with the physical presence of a superhero. He's got legitimate African heritage because his family's Nigerian, and he's an unknown actor, so you can get lost in the character, much like Henry Cavill's Superman.
I think he's got real intensity about him. But also, the Game of Thrones role is he plays Daxos, and he has a scene with Khaleesi in the second series, and even though he's risen from nothing, he has a lot of gravitas about him. He has a lot of presence and a slight regalness, which obviously is very appropriate for the Black Panther character.
And he's a bloody man mountain as well. I interviewed him a few years ago. He played a football hooligan in a movie called Cass, and he is a giant, but a gentle giant, like really sweet, lovely guy. But man, it was quite intimidating just standing next to him.
He's a huge guy, yeah.
So that would be an awesome Black Panther.
Yeah. So, as always, if you've got any kind of casting suggestions, send them in. It's IGN_UK feedback at IGN.com. I will get a better email address sorted out for next week, hopefully.
You better.
So send in your suggestions. Like, we always hear about Johnny Depp being rumoured for Doctor Strange, but have you got any good ones? Even characters that aren't even on Marvel's radar right now.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of compare them on the show.
Yep, agreed. And now we're going to try a new feature in episode 3, where we thought it might be fun to the celebrities that we speak to and the actors and directors, ask them what their favourite superhero movie is. And so we're kicking off this week with Joel Kinnaman, the man who plays RoboCop.
I'd say Batman, and The Dark Knight is probably my favourite one.
And why is that?
It was a combination. I love what Nolan did with the Batman franchise. He grounded the whole idea, made it somewhat realistic, and it didn't feel like a cartoon anymore. It was real emotions from the people involved, and then Heath Ledger, did an incredible performance with that character, and I found the Joker was, he was able to portray some emotions in that. With that character that I thought was incredible. There's this scene where, in The Dark Knight, when Batman is like driving towards him, and he's just saying like, "Hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me," and that thing that chaotic mind is also always he's suicidal. That he wants to die. He wants to be set free, and that chaos is a way for him to come closer to die, and that was fascinating to me.
So there you have it. That was Joel's favourite superhero movie.
He's a little ball of sunshine, isn't he?
Yeah, he was having a bad day, maybe. Smile, Joel.
Not as bad as Alex Murphy.
But what I'm worried about with this feature is that every week people say The Dark Knight, and it's going to make it a bit pointless.
So tune in next week for our feature of other celebrities say Batman.
But equally on that junket, I asked Gary Oldman the same question, and he said, who's obviously in the Dark Knight movies, and he said to me, he doesn't really like superhero movies, but asked me not to tell his bosses.
He felt suicidal about the genre that he'd inspired.
Yeah,
so that's good.
But yeah, if you like that, let us know, because I'm gonna keep going with it until we run out.
Or give up, as is usually the case with our content. So Batman, speaking of Batman, next week we might have a very cool Batman competition, but I'll tell you more about that then. But as always, contact us with any kind of suggestions or casting rumours or anything that's happened in the week regarding superheroes. And until then, we'll see you next week.
Cheerio.